But I do try and throw like my first Clancy book, I think I threw Pike Logan and the Gray Man in there as far as, Jack Ryan Jr.'s looking at books and see them. But at Thriller Fest a while ago, every now and then all the big authors get together and do an anthology. And I think they had one called Face Off where they brought a bunch of protagonists together. So like Lee Childs, Jack Reacher, and Joe Finders, I forget who his main guy is, both did, a short story together or something. And so I guess anything's possible, but right now I think Matt causes enough trouble in his own life. So we'll just leave him there.
Well, I mean, speaking of, Matt Drake, you just had Scott Brick redo
Yeah.
the audiobooks for,
Yeah.
your first two. And actually, I'm listening to it right now, which is fantastic. I laughed out loud when he was like, "Oh, but I don't have a badge." I was like, "I died." That was delivered perfectly. But I mean, what was that like? Like, how did the partnership happen? Because Scott
Yeah.
Briggs
He,
won every award there is as far as narration goes.
Yeah, so like most things in my writing career, it was pretty much blind luck. So I was not an Audible guy. I'd never really listened to him before. And so when the publisher, to their credit, asked me who I wanted for, or they may have gave me some different folks for the Matt Drake series at first. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I never really listened to them because I didn't think I was an Audible guy until my first Clancy book came out, Target acquired. And my friend's a huge Audible guy. And he's like, Scott Brick is the man. You got to listen to him. And I was like, whatever, it's an Audible book. And then I read this article by Jonathan Mayberry. And Jonathan Mayberry uses Ray Porter, who's another giant Audible guy. And it was this really interesting article where Jonathan Mayberry said, he's so in tune with Ray Porter reading his books now that when he writes, he hears Ray's voice in his head and he thinks about how would Ray say this line of dialogue and he might change it. And so I was like, maybe there's something to it. And so I listened to Target Acquired, and it's the first time as writers, and you guys know this, by the time your book goes in, you're just sick of it because you've read it so many times and you can't. And even when I get the hard copy of my book, when I start to read it, all I see is errors or things I wish I would have changed and stuff. But when you listen to it and when you listen to Scott Brick do it, it's the first time really that I can enjoy it because it feels like it's somebody else's story because he does such a fantastic job with it. And so as soon as I heard I went back to the publisher and I said, hey, can I switch for book 3 of my series that was Hostile Intent? And can I get Scott to do it? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. And he did such a fantastic job that I really wanted to see if I could get him to go back and redo the originals. And they never do that. And my agent's like, I've never even heard of somebody do it. And so I kind of had some back and forth with the publisher, and Scott's a super busy guy. And so even trying to get on his calendar, but to the publisher's credit, they came back and said, okay, we're going to do it. And just the sales, like even though the book had been released and everything, the first week it came out for Audible after he did it, we sold like 3 times as many in that week as we had the preceding week. Because the other crazy thing about Audible listeners is they will follow the narrator, right? They'll go and it cracks me up. Like if I don't have it or I'd show it to you. If you look at the Audible version of Clancy, because they still have for Clancy, they still have like the CDs and stuff, the old school. On the back of it, there's a color picture of Tom Clancy and Scott Brick, but not me. And so I'm like, okay, I see where I lay in the hierarchy of this thing. But it really is like the readers follow him from series to series. And I'm like, man, I just hit the lottery with him for sure.
Now, did you get to like sneak peeks along the way, or was it just like, here's the final product, congratulations?
No, what they do give you is you'll get this list of questions of like, how do I pronounce this? How do I pronounce this? And so it's kind of funny because some of them, like, and I'll probably get the abbreviation wrong, but DSHK, Adishka, right? They're like, how do you say Dishka? And I'm like, Dishka. But then a bunch of the stuff is Arabic, and I'm like, your guess is good as mine. And the funny part, I think it's funny, my wife doesn't think is as funny, is that so I'm a huge Friday Night Lights fan, and there's a character on there, Layla Garrity. And so I coincidentally labeled my main character and my Matt Drake, his wife, as Layla. But if you look at the spelling, it's Lila. And my wife is actually a dyslexia specialist. And she's like, that is Lila. It's not Layla. And so sure enough, the first narrator called her, Lila. But I got to go back and tell them how to say it when Scott Brick took over, and now she is Lila. And so I got the last laugh out of that one, thanks to Scott Brick.
That is fantastic. And you lucked out. You're right. Scott has a massive following. Ray Porter does as well. I mean, he is dark side. He is very popular. Jay Snyder. I can't hear Court Gentry without Jay Snyder.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you actually got Dave Temple, the voice of the Thrillerverse, to do your audiobook. What was that process like?
Very similar to what Don talked about. It was mostly helping David understand how to pronounce names, things like that. There were, and he too is not a weapons guy, former military, that kind of thing. So it was like that. And then I did get a few snippets. And what surprised me that he did that I didn't ask for, but he was nice enough to do, he did some audio overlay. So like static when talking on the radio, little intros, little touches of music.
That's
Now,
cool.
He didn't do a Mark Greeny armored 12-person, kind of radio TV show kind of idea. But it was nice to hear that. And I feel the same way as Don. I can relax and listen to my audio book versus, like you say, even in the second edition, after I re-edited, when I had to publish myself, I was, still in it and looking for errors and stuff. And so that was just a real pleasure. And I hope to get him, little spoiler here, I hope to get him on board to do the novella.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like you read my mind. That was going to be my next question. Did you get to collaborate through this, or was it really just giving notes?
Giving notes. I'm like, you're the pro. And as you saw near the end, he was in the sound booth and doing little bites for me, little public, info bites and stuff like that. So a lot of fun, but I have no knowledge of that space. And, I have such no knowledge that actually I'm still waiting for the book to show up on Audible. It's in like 7 other spots, but evidently Audible is very specific about frequencies and all kinds of sound mixing and things like that. So hopefully it will show up in Audible soon and we can start marketing it. So.
Okay, I have to know from both of you. I mean, you're dealing with pros, so of course maybe this isn't their brand, but did you get outtakes? Because those are always the best.
That would have been a really neat idea, but I assume Scott probably guards that with his life, so you only get the finished product and stuff. But no,
Yeah, same here. Yeah, finished product.
Well, that might be something to keep in mind for the future.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. See, I'm doing mine independently. So the guy who's doing it, he's somebody I know quite well. So I asked him up front for outtakes, and oh man, I'm getting some gems.
That's a good idea.
It's highly entertaining. Not to mention, it's just good tongue-in-cheek stuff for us. But
yeah,
it's pure comedy. So as you guys are moving forward now, say you've got more Vince Flynn coming our way. Is that correct, Don?
Yeah. So the first one, Capture or Kill, comes out in September 3rd.
Nice.
September is a good month. That's my birthday month. So I will consider this, an early birthday present. So thank you for that.
Oh, it'll be your 21st birthday then, huh?
Yeah, again. And then, so what do you got coming, Steve? You got any?
Well, Snowman, more than likely early next year. We have the novella on June 11th. Book 3 in the series. I'm waiting for the final beating from the editor to come back, and hopefully I can finish that up and get it out. So it'd be a busy year. Plus, I have actually written into an anthology for Mark Sibley had a sort of a cult following kind of book called Mongol Moon. And so I wrote into that universe and about what happens after the EMP hits, Christmas Eve. And so Lance and the team got got to play a little role up in Wyoming is what I'll let out. So
Very
Oh,
cool.
I know. I like that. So, considering you're both Army, this was probably a good time to, Steve, you have a favorite quote that's coming in the novella. It's, I have been in the Army for less than a year. If this keeps up, I'm not going to make it to 10. I am curious if there's some real life behind that. And then Don, does that just kind of make you have some little bit of deja vu from things that have passed?
It does for me, for sure. I had my favorite quote that I still use with my kids. I had an incredible first sergeant when I was a troop commander. And when guys, and it was usually guys, were stupid enough that we were trying to intervene without necessarily doing UCMJ action or something like that, he used to look at him and he said, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. And so I still use that one with my kids.
I love that
You,
sort of that John Wayne take, right?
yeah.
Life is hard if you're stupid. Yeah. I love it.
Ama, you're a chief. Like, aren't you guys supposed to be full of wisdom? Like, give us something, girl.
We are definitely full of it. Usually it's lots of caffeine and anger, but in this case, I am allowing the Army to shine because I don't want to overtake you guys. This is your
Yeah.
conversation. But Steve, did that line come from somewhere? Is this you kind of channeling your Army, career into Lance?
Yeah, there was a couple of incidents early on. First time I got down into South America that were like, you know, I was that kind of guy. I would go up and I was doing some Halo training with the Colombians, and I jump out of the airplane, land in front of the Secretary of Defense of Colombia with the team and things like that, and then my team commander or my captain walks over and goes, by the way, the battalion lieutenant commander says we can't jump. No Halo jumping. No, so just you might want to pack it and get the hell out of Dodge, pack up your chute. So there were a couple of things that weren't specifically that I was going to perish in the moment, but that my career might have been shortened a bit, or my MOS might have been changed to dishwasher or typist or something. So yeah.